Shalom Uvracha. So we talked once about what meat foods do we have to wait after eating them before we can eat milk. And we mentioned that pareve food that's cooked in a meat pot, one doesn't have to wait after eating. And that's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch, Yoreh Deah, Siman Peitet 89, that after eating pareve foods like rice that was cooked in a meat pot, even if we cooked meat just 5 minutes before we finished cooking meat in the pot, we cleaned the pot and then we made rice. In such a case, we eat the rice. We don't have to wait after it. We can eat milk directly after it. Now, this is a very interesting point because the commentators ask, why did the Shulchan Aruch say that we're allowed to eat milk after eating such rice? Because, I'm going to let you in on a secret. If that rice actually got mixed up with milk, we'd be able to eat it with the milk together. That rice has a very interesting halachic status. It's called nat bar nat, which is the initials of the words notein tam, bar notein tam. It gives the taste, the son of giving the taste. I think in English we translate it as secondary taste. Let's see if we can follow the path here. We made meat in the pot, so the meat taste went into the pot. We then took the pot and cleaned it, and we made rice in the pot, so the meat taste came out of the pot and into the rice. The meat taste that's in the rice now is called secondary taste, nat bar nat, meat to the pot, pot to the rice. And the law of nat bar nat, whilst having many lot of details and differences between Sfarim and Ashkenazim, and was it used in the last 24 hours or not, and have you mixed it yet or not? But I can tell you that everyone agrees that if that rice got mixed with milk, you're allowed to eat that rice with the milk. So we return to our question. Why did the Shulchan Aruch say that if you eat rice that was cooked in a meat pot, you're allowed to drink milk afterwards? He should have told us the truth. That rice that was cooked in a meat pot could even be eaten with the milk. Why did he say that it could only be eaten milk after it? So that question is asked by the Shach and all the latter-day commentators. And there are two answers that we actually accept as halacha today. The first answer is the answer of the Shach, Siftei Kohen, on the page of the Shulchan Aruch. And he says it's coming to tell us a great novel idea. When we said that you could take rice from a meat pot and sometimes eat it with the milk itself, that would only be in a situation where the pot was clean when we cooked the rice in it. In such a case, that rice is considered nat bar nat, and if it got mixed with milk after the fact for Ashkenazim, a little bit more lenient for Sfarim, that a person is allowed to eat that mixture. Says the Shach, do you know what the Shulchan Aruch meant when he said that you can only have milk after it? If the pot wasn't spick and span clean. If the pot was a little bit dirty. We made meat. We then didn't clean the pot completely. It was still a bit dirty, and we made rice in the pot. In such a case, says the Shach, we cannot eat milk with that rice. But after we eat that meat, that rice, we don't have to wait to eat milk. Now, this is very practical, because often in a cheder ochel, in a restaurant, in a cafeteria situation, I come along and want to not be meat. I want to take some rice. So I take the spoon and I put some rice on my plate. But then I notice that someone has used that spoon for the meat. And there's a tiny little bit of meat on the rice. Or when I go and buy a falafel, the man who's putting the falafel balls in my falafel is using the same tongs that he used for the other client to take the shawarma meat. And he didn't clean the tongs before he put and there might be a little bit of meat in it. Do I have to wait? According to this Shach, I don't have to wait after eating such food. Why? Because the tiny little bit of meat that was still on the pot is not enough to make me fleshich. Now, there's a bit of an argument amongst the latter-day rabbis. Is this only when that amount of meat is less than 1 in 60? Or is it even when the amount of meat is more than 1 in 60 to the power of rice. That's an argument, but in most cases, in the situations I talked about, the amount of meat that was left on the pot that wasn't cleaned, or the meat on the spoon or the tongs, is less than 1 in 60 in the amount of the whole falafel or the rice or the food we're eating. And in such a case, I'm not fleshig after I eat such, according to all the opinions. There's another interesting explanation of the Shulchan Aruch, Rabbi Akiva Eger, and he says it's talking about even when we cooked something harif, something very sharp, in the meat pot. In such a case, the laws of nut bar nut do not apply, and you're not allowed to eat it with milk. So if a person didn't make normal rice, they made super spicy hot rice. In such a case, it would be forbidden if that rice got mixed with milk to eat it, because the spiciness draws out more of the meat taste, and it's not considered nut bar nut. It's much stricter. Nonetheless, says Rabbi Akiva, if we just ate that spicy food, we don't have to wait 6 hours till we can have milk. So let's summarize what we've learned today. We've learned a very interesting thing, that even though we do have to wait after eating meat before milk, there are some cases where if we made par food in a meat pot, we certainly don't have to wait. And even if the utensils we used weren't spick and span clean, and there was a tiny little bit of meat still left on them, on the tongs, on the serving spoon, around the bowl that we cooked in such a case, a person doesn't have to wait, and after they've finished eating the par of food from the not so clean meat utensils, when they're finished, they can then say an after bracha and go ahead and drink milk, even though they wouldn't be able to drink milk together with such food because of the tiny bits of meat in such a situation. After the fact, after they've finished eating, they can then have their milk. Enjoy.